Have you ever heard of the tragedy of Heliborne? I thought not. It's not one the Jennies are likely to tell you.
Мы выходим на рассвете, над багровым дует, раздувая наши флаги до небес. Только пыль встает над нами, с нами боги, с нами...
Heliborne released on October 12, 2017, developed by Jetcat Games, a team of a whole 3 people out of a shack in Lithuania to revive the genre of helicopter arcade games, which I can definitely admit I'm far too young to remember even being a genre. I was personally introduced to the game by one of Shermanator's videos in November of 2017, and I've been playing the game ever since. It's one of my favorite games that's come out in the past few years. While the game experienced slow development, they still fostered a close-knit community throughout the Heliborne Discord server, where players contributed research on vehicles, sound modding, and texture modding to the developers. While small, it was a great community that all shared their love for the indie game. I really cannot underestimate how slow and infrequent updates to the game were. It makes Project Aces look like Rockstar pumping out new heist DLCs. 10 skin pack DLCs were released in October when the game was released, followed by 4 more into late 2017 and early 2018. In March of 2018, Jetcat released their biggest update to the game, arguably ever. Titled the Transport Renaissance, this update added the ability to sling load, repair, and ammunition crates and drop them off at LZ sites, allowing players to repair and rearm without flying all the way back to base. For an April Fool's event that April, just after the Transport Renaissance update, they created a limited time event of these sci-fi scrap helicopters on an alien world. It was short-lived but enjoyable. After the April Fool's event, there was a new update that added more content to the counterinsurgency co-op game mode, along with naval invasion maps on an island map involving the Chinese vehicles. The last big update came in August of 2019 with the Reinforcements update that added the BO-105 scout helicopter and A-129 Mangusta attack helicopter to the US/NATO forces, and the Chinese Z-10 and Z-19 attack helicopters to the Russian forces. These vehicles have seen very little use, in all honesty, and the Chinese helicopters are some of the absolute worst in the game, and they have no place to be in the game. This was the last we heard from the developers for about a year, and when we finally received communications from the developers, it wasn't good news. Klabaters had been the long-term publisher for Heliborne and Jetcat. Sometime in late 2019, they bought out the Heliborne title and transferred development to an internal team. Things went downhill very fast. Klabaters proved to be very unlikable when it came to the handling of Heliborne. With an overhaul of the Discord server, they promised to listen to the community and set out that they were going to port the game to Unity and consoles, including Xbox, PS4, and Switch, moving away from the homebrew engine that Jetcat developed the game on. This mystique proved to be the death stroke for the game, as Klabaters ran into a lot of issues in transferring the game to Unity, but they kept hyping it up, telling the community how great the enhanced edition of the game would be. The Klabaters Steam forum community manager became a nuisance to those in the community watching the forums for actual information and updates, as he hosted useless AMAs that repeated information that had been told multiple times before, and posted promotional content for other games that Klabaters published. The community really did not like that. Enhanced Edition was slated to be released in August of 2020, but was pushed back due to development issues. Landing in late 2020, Enhanced Edition was incredibly underwhelming. Graphically, it looked like a student Unity project. Too much bloom, and colors were extremely flat. Water on all the maps were glitched and reflected part of the maps, which gave an incredibly disorienting effect. Choosing to replace most of the audio, weapon sounds were grating on the ears, and overall, the enhanced edition was a flop on arrival. Klabater rushed to do damage control, letting players revert to what they like to call old-born version of the game, allowing us to play the original version of the game we all loved. I feel like Klabater at this point, after Enhanced Edition was released, that even if they fixed the game, that Heliborne would now be operating at a loss. With some minor tweaks to sound effects, and fixing the water glitch, and adding a couple of prototype US helicopters to the US tech tree, they made one final update, adding the Heliborne launcher, allowing players to launch either the Enhanced Edition or the Legacy Edition of Heliborne, keeping up a single legacy server to allow players to continue going on in the corpse of the once great game. This isn't to throw any kind of shade at Klabater, but I do not believe that they understood what they were getting themselves into when they bought out the Heliborne title. Looking at the Klabater publisher page on Steam, it shows that they've only published a few games, and from what they have published and developed, none of them are remotely as in-depth as what Heliborne is. They are mostly clicking games with 2D sprites and not 3D action games that require the amount of development that goes into Heliborne. And the one other first-person 3D game that they have developed has also received mixed reviews, with many people saying it is filled with bugs and is overall an underwhelming experience and not worth the money. As of today, Heliborne is a cadaver puppeted by the community, desperate to keep it alive. Occasionally there are organized events to revive servers, but very few succeed in fully reviving the game for a night. At most, there will be about 15 players on most of the legacy servers. Heliborne and its mutilation by Klabater, I believe, qualifies it as the greatest tragedy in gaming. A great game ruined by a money-hungry publisher.